We're getting sports drunk, and I'm here with Tyler, the lord of all the liquids here at Black Hog Brewing. We're joined by the Red Baron and Machine Watchable. Tyler's going to give us a little tour of where all the magic happens here at Black Hog.
Yeah. Welcome to Black Hog Brewing. We make beer just like everybody else. The four main ingredients: malted grain, most of it's barley, water, hops, and yeast. What you're looking at here is just a bunch of different malted barley. This is all of our base malts here. Up on the rack here are all of our malted specialty base malts, and then we have all of our specialty grains here. We use anywhere from 900 to 2,000 pounds of all of these mixed together to get the ABV or alcohol by volume we're looking for, the color, any malt flavors we're looking for, kind of like Earl Brown's easy to look at, where you get that raisin note and the chocolate note kind of coming from different types of specialty malts over here. But we mix them all together. They go through that Ray mill at the top there, gets milled in what's called a grist case underneath it. So there's two rollers. It's a shearing force, breaks open those grain, exposing the starch underneath it. And then that husk and starch mixture gets dragged up and gets brought into the brew house, kind of where the next step of the process is over here.
These are the bathing tanks, right?
Yeah. So you just wear the whirlpooling hat, or the hot tubbing hat. No, but you can see this white pipe here is bringing in that malted grain. It's going to get dropped into what's called our mash tun here. The mash tun itself has a false bottom. It's where we mix the milled grain with some hot water. Enzymatic activity starts the reaction and basically converting those starches into sugars. And those sugars are really what we're pulling out of this. Those sugars become either fermentable or unfermentable sugars. The fermentable sugars are going to create the alcohol for us. The unfermentable sugars are going to add the body or the flavor or residual sweetness within the beer. We'll take a peek inside of the mash tun so I can show you the false bottom that's in there. Turn on the light for you.
This is the part where the camera falls in the tank.
We discussed this.
It's like going into the beer vault.
So there's a mash tun there. As you can see there's stainless steel in the bottom here. This is called our rakes. So while we're mashing in, those rakes are spinning around, which is really kind of helping mix all that grain together and make sure you get a nice homogeneous mixture. The time and temperature in here is super important, where the temperature is going to affect how much fermentable or unfermentable sugars you're getting out of this. We literally sit there for 45 minutes, and then that's where these plates come into play. They act like a colander, holding back all that grain and collecting the wort, with that sweet water that's left behind in there. It's called wort, W-O-R-T, but it's just like amino acid, like sugar-rich growth media, pretty much, that we're going to be extracting out of this. And this holds back the grain, letting that clear wort run into our grant. Then we pump it over into our kettle itself. Once we hit the kettle is where we're going to start boiling the wort. Because it is this beautiful growth media, any sort of bacterium could grow in it. So boiling sterilizes it, makes it a sterile product, allows us to have yeast be the only thing growing later on in the process. But because it is boiling, we're able to add in hops and use the heat to extract the oils, or use the heat to convert the acids into bitterness. So depending what hop you're using and where you're putting them in within the boil, you get different characteristics out of that kind of within there. So then we have at this point, you got bittered wort coming out of your kettle, go through our heat exchanger, and then we'll hook up a hose here and knock it out to one of our fermenters here. So here at Black Hog Brewing, we have a 15-barrel brew house. We have 5 30-barrel fermenters, which are double batches, 3 60-barrel fermenters, which are quad batches. Then I got a 30-barrel bright and a 60-barrel bright. So basically, we can flip this brew house twice in a day to fill up one of those. Or we'll do that over 2 days to fill up one of our 60s. So once we fill this up, we pitch our yeast into this, and this is where the magic happens, because as a brewer, we're basically making sugar water. The yeast is actually converting it to beer for us. The yeast is a beautiful little microorganism, eating the sugar we made in the mash tun, creating 2 byproducts, which are carbon dioxide and alcohol. The CO2 we let bubble off in these buckets here. You can see kind of a whole bunch of them getting crazy here with some Croisen pumping out the tops. You see that CO2 bubbling away, and that is, we leave it open during fermentation to ensure that there is no pressure buildup and we don't crack the tanks. And then once we've finished fermentation, we'll cap it off the yeast will go through a diacetyl rest, and then it will just kind of go into dormancy. We'll settle into the cone at the bottom, where we're able to harvest it and repitch it on another batch. So we're able to reuse our yeast probably 10 or 12 times, depending how it's working for us. So then at that point, we can crash the temperature, and then we have cold, uncarbonated beer. And then we'll hook up our pumps and we'll do an inline carbonation. So from our fermenter, go through a pump, carbonate as we're pumping it, and then put it into our bright tanks behind us. So the second it hits the bright tank, it's carbonated, it's ready to package. So we'll hook up either our kegging lines or our canning line, which would be the next process, which we actually have my canning line set up over here. Take a look at it.
This is what I'm excited for. This is like a machine you see on Dr. Seuss right here.
Yeah, so this is a crazy machine here. So we come in, you see just the pallets of empty cans we got waiting here if we got a granola brown run happening. They get loaded into this machine here. We'll run through. This cage will flip over. We'll rinse the inside of the cans. Then it'll drop back down. The cans will continue down their way. This is the filler head. It has both CO2 purge, a stainless steel fill height, and then a fill sensor where it will stop the fill as it's going. Then the can will continue on. We'll grab a lid as it goes through here. That'll flow along the edge here. It'll rotate into this star system here, where we have this chuck and then two separate seaming heads. Where operation 1 will take the edge of this can and kind of roll it over, and operation 2 will come in and flatten that out, and that creates that mechanically double rolled seam that creates the best oxygen prevention possible. And you know, cans are just the best container for a beer to be in, because there's the two big spoilers within beer are light and oxygen, and cans prevent both of them, where there's no chance of light getting in because it's an opaque metal can, and then the oxygen completely comes out. Where if you think about how a bottle of beer just it's a piece of glass with a piece of metal that's crimped on it, there's a possibility of oxygen getting up throughout that seal if it's not quite perfect. So this takes the two biggest beer spoilers out of it. Plus, it gets colder faster. Plus, it's 100% recyclable, so it's better for the environment. So there's just so many more reasons why you see a lot more craft beer sitting in cans now, because it's just better for the beer. And but then it'll come out after that seam is actually now at this point will be covered in beer, because it's overflowing and gets seamed. So we'll have this water rinse going, rinse off all that beer, blow off the tops, and then it'll come out. We'll pack tech them and put them into cases and stack them up into the finished beer, which we can go check out now. The run we did yesterday, so it's did cans and kegs there, so that's a full pallet of cans, so one pallet's 100 cases that sits on a pallet. Then we'll have pallets of kegs that we'll be kegging off as we're doing the run as well. But yeah, these are all granola brown packaged yesterday. We're talking 1/5/2018, so fresh you can get right there. But this is all on this side is kind of, you see, dry storage and finished product waiting to happen, where you kind of just stacks and stacks and stacks of cans, empty cans over there waiting to be packaged. And then this is all, these are empty kegs waiting to be filled next week, but behind those are full kegs and packaged beer waiting to be shipped. So it's, you can kind of get a little higher and sneak out a little picture in the back there. So it's all the packaged beer waiting to be shipped out. And you know, this is all be shipped out within the next couple weeks. But yeah, again, great. Thanks so much for coming to Black Hog Brewing. I hope show a little bit of something and learn a little bit while you're here.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for having us. We'll be back. Make sure to come to Black Hog. Drink tons of good beer.